because we're on the same, and then over to Scott.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Sherilyn Fish. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I presently work for a nonprofit in community-based mental health. And you're?
My name is Matthew Mendoza. I actually have the same degree as her, and I went to the same school as her, and I am also a licensed marriage and family therapist. And I don't work in community mental health anymore. I work in private practice now.
And I'm Scott Stafford. I'm a 5-star ranger, and I'm also a Salesforce architect. So I'm going to really hope to bring this into the realm of Salesforce.
Yeah, and Scott was mentioning to us anxiety and how it does, you guys encountered a lot with Salesforce. And you told me about test taking, performance anxiety, just a lot of anxiety. And I said, hey, I think we can give you some tips. So those are some of the things we wanted to talk about. I wanted to start by making a disclaimer. Anxiety can look like a lot of different things. So anxiety can be a racing heart, difficulty sleeping. Sometimes you might feel nauseous or like vomiting. And so I really wanted to put it out there. If you're having a lot of physical symptoms, please be checked out by your medical doctor because you may have an underlying medical condition. I also wanted to put it out there that if you have any feelings of suicidal or homicidal, wanting to hurt someone else, that please reach out and get some mental health support. Reach out to somebody. This video is for the purposes of education only. It's not intended to be a therapy session. So I just wanted to put that out there as we get started.
Yes, and you can always look for resources. We can provide them as well if you guys would need them. So let's start. What does anxiety look like? How would you define anxiety?
Anxiety can look like a lot of things. Anxiety can be sweaty palms, avoidance, a racing heart, feeling the jitters, a lot of different things. Oh, you're shaking
For me,
your head.
a lot of times it's avoidance. I mean, when I have a test or something I'm new, I'll push back the test date, or I just won't want to go to an event. I'll be like, I've actually gone to some Salesforce events and actually got to the event and just couldn't force myself to go into the room where everybody was there. Because like, oh, this is, I feel really new. I'm a new Salesforce admin. What's it going to be like in there? And then I just went home.
Thank you for sharing, Scott. That's a very common thing that happens with anxiety. We call it might be flooding, but it's a very avoidant behavior where you feel so overwhelmed with emotions, you shut down, and then you often avoid the situation. If I could take a minute of your guys' time, I'm going to draw with this amazing diagram.
Okay.
How us clinicians like to look at anxiety.
I love it when people do diagrams because as an architect, we like to see things very visual. So it's really great when, whether it's a flow chart or something like that. We just love charts, and it's great that other fields like it as well. So that's great.
Okay, so please do not judge my penmanship. But we one of the very common treatments we like to do for anxiety is the CBT. And CBT stands for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. And there's a very amazing diagram, we call it the CBT triangle. And cognitive is just a fancy word for what you're thinking, what your thoughts are in the moment. You also have behaviors, your actions. Right now we're sitting down having this conversation. We have this amazing puppy that loves to play 24/7. So behaviors, your actions, what you're currently doing. And right now I'm tossing the ball to my beautiful dog. And then you also have, this should be F for feelings and emotions. And one of the most important things, how we look at anxiety, is everything is congruent. And congruence just means everything is on the same page. We like to be consistent. And I love to use my wife as a personal example, which she is very happy to be used. And what happens is we have a trigger that activates everything.
Okay, we know triggers. I mean, we build a lot of triggers in Salesforce, and it does the same function where it's either activated by a triggered event of like a record, or it could be something within the platform itself. So that really resonates with us.
Yeah, so the triggers and activating, thank you. great thing there, Scott. So triggers and activating events is, for my wife, it used to be, I don't do this anymore, I was knock on wood, but don't start again, is the toilet seat.
Okay.
I grew up with 3 brothers, my poor mom.
Okay.
We would always leave the toilet seat up because we outnumbered her. And when I met my wife, I thought it was okay to do this, and apparently it's not.
No.
So that's the trigger, toilet seat up. I'm wondering, as a mother of 4 amazing children, how did you feel with toilet seat up? What was your Thoughts?
I would be thinking they don't care, they're not listening.
Okay.
I would be really frustrated and sometimes angry. So that would be the trigger for me and the feelings that would come up. And it sounds like the same for your wife.
Yes, very, very thoughts and her behaviors. My mom would never yell at us. She's a sweet little angel. But my wife is not so nice.
Oh.
She's amazing.
Okay.
Joking. Hopefully she never watches this.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she is.
She's lucky to have me, by the way. Behaviors and actions. What she likes to do is she likes to notify me in not the so calmest manner. She tells me, Matthew, the toilet seat is up again. And I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go put the toilet seat down. I'm kind of caught here. So I'll run, I'll go put the toilet seat down, I'll come back and I try to talk to her. But now, instead of yelling at me, she's on the couch and she likes to ignore me to show me that she's very frustrated. And I'm like, oh man. And I'm wondering, Scott, I'll let you take a stab at it. What do you think her emotions and feelings are in that moment?
She's pretty angry and very frustrated. And I keep looking at the different variables that you keep pointing to. And it's...
Yes. And one thing I just want to highlight again, everything's on the same page.
Okay.
Angry thoughts, angry behaviors, angry feelings.
Okay.
I'm like, whew, man, I've been in this predicament before and I know my wife pretty well. And I go to the kitchen, I go to the freezer section, I get a whole bunch of, depends how bad I messed up or how mad she is. And I get a whole bunch of scoops of ice cream and I put it in there and I give it to her. At first she tries to ignore it because she wants to stay mad, but then she gives in every single time. I'm changing her behaviors. She was doing an upset behavior, now she's doing a behavior she loves. She loves to eat ice cream. What do you think she's feeling in that moment? Now she's eating ice cream.
Feeling much more relaxed.
I think anybody would have to be happy. I mean, it's pretty hard not to be in a different mood or in at least a happy mood when you're tasting ice cream. So
exactly. She's feeling joyful. She's feeling very excited. She's smiling. You guys should literally see her smile when she takes that first scoop. It's very cute. So her feelings change and her thoughts. I like to imagine the thoughts are, my husband's so amazing, I was being so rude to him, he's the most amazing man in the world. It's probably not what she's thinking. She's probably thinking, he grew up with 3 other brothers that did this to their poor mother. And they're much more rational, not so angry, if that makes sense. But the reason I use that example is I changed one variable.
Yep. Just one.
And it changed everything.
Okay.
And that's how we like to handle anxiety, depression, and other things. We change one thing. We like to do coping skills or self-care to ground us, to stop doing something that makes us anxious and that relaxes us so we can change the whole cycle.
What would be a way to change a variable when I'm taking a test? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm there, I'm in that moment, I'm mindful, unfortunately, of the test coming up and the situation. So I need to change it. What could I do?
We have a lot of great tips. I did want to go back to the diagram just for 1 minute because I think it's a fun, yes, it's beautiful. A fun observation is that Matthew wasn't upset. Matthew wasn't anxious, but his one intervention was able to shift someone else. So
Okay.
he noticed someone else was angry, and in distress and upset. But he knew that if he shifted her feelings, that he could change the behavior. So it's really fun to notice that what you do can impact others. But you want to touch on how we can impact ourselves.
Really quick, happy wife, happy life. Just gotta throw that out there.
And there's a lot of truth to that. But there is a lot you can do for yourself to shift it. So when you are, you've shifted into more of an anxious frame, there's things that you can do. And one of them, as simple and as silly as it can be. And in my practice, I've said this to people and they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, really. Breathing.
Okay.
You really can do yourself a big favor by slowing things down.
Okay.
Oftentimes when people become anxious, their heart begins to race and their breathing
do.
gets really rapid. And what happens when that's going on? Your brain isn't getting oxygen. Like sometimes your hands will start to sweat and they'll even start to tingle. And those are all clues that you're breathing really fast and you're shorting off your oxygen to your body.
Okay.
So if you can slow things down.
I mean, that really makes sense because I've had it. You start to get clammy. You start to, no matter how cold that you've set the air conditioner, right? You start to feel weird. So you said just simply breathing.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways. I've taught it in for different age groups. There's ways to do it with little kids. Sometimes I would have them take a deep breath in and pretend they're blowing out a birthday cake, right? But for an adult, just taking a deep breath in. Sometimes I will hold out my hand or I'll put it in my lap and I'll do it. And I'll take a deep breath in and then let it out.
Is there a certain number of seconds or something when you count, or?
It varies from person to person, and it takes practice. So some people can calm themselves down in 20 seconds, and it might take somebody a few minutes. Hopefully not half an hour. You might need a different coping skill if it takes you that long. but it varies from person to person. But at least I would say give it at least 2 minutes. You know, if you're new.
Oh, you do definitely feel different. I mean, you get a lot of oxygen in, and it really changes. And then let it out.
Mhm.
I like it.
Also for adults, I like to encourage them when you take a deep breath in, and if you are sitting with someone, you can subtly do it. Just if you realize that you're starting to feel anxious, maybe your symptom is the clammy hands. If you can just sit and take a deep breath in. I also like to encourage people once it's full, just to take a little extra, because that expands all the capillaries in the lungs, and it helps the oxygenation so much more. And then just let it out very slowly. So deep breathing, a very powerful tool. You asked a really good question, for how long? And it varies. Sometimes it just takes people like one breath or a few breaths, but it might take you the whole time focusing on your breathing. But if you're slowing it down, you're giving yourself a break. You know, your brain is getting oxygen. And I know when I get anxious and my brain goes offline, I'm not thinking clearly. I'm wanting to vacate. I'm forgetting answers, and it just sometimes turns into a spiral. So that very simple thing of a deep breath, very, very powerful intervention. Here's another silly one. Also one of my favorites, and I know I've told you this before.
Okay.
And it's smiling.
Okay,
Smiling,
this is a great one.
right?
Yeah.
Smiling, it releases chemicals in your brain that help you feel good. And
I
this
mean, I
one,
think if anybody ever tries it, just try and keep a straight face, and then try it with a smile. You feel different, you know?
Yeah.
It's just something changes between. You
a
know,
lot changes.
Yeah.
So you've changed the chemistry of your body, and that you're starting to shift the chemistry in your brain.
Mhm.
So even if it's, I mean, you have to modulate this. Of course, if somebody is telling you a very sad story, you're not going to be smiling. But if you're in an interview, or if you're with a group of people, even just the subtle shift of, you know, having a more positive face. And this one has like a dual benefit, because when you're having that positive presence of a smile,
Right.
everyone in the room feels that. So not only is it good for you and
Right.
your body, like right now I'll smile and I feel good. I feel happy, I feel confident. But it sends a message to you like, hey, I feel good. I want to send like warm, happy vibes to you as well. And hopefully that's contagious. So they're very small, incredibly powerful. Slowing down your breathing, getting your body fully oxygenated, and smiling. So really powerful. I think you had one you wanted to share.
Yeah, we got quite a few. A very great one that I like to do is called Safe Place.
Okay.
It's very similar to the movie Happy Gilmore. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it.
I've seen it.
Amazing movie with
Yeah.
Adam Sandler. Part of the movie is when he's trying to do miniature, or the small putt golf. I don't know exactly what it's called, but he likes to take himself to the happy place. You know,
Okay.
where his girlfriend's there, his skimpy outfit. You know, his friends have a whole 2 pitchers of beer. Sounds like a great place to me. 2 pitchers of beer, and he's just joyful and happy there. Safe place. Me and my mom, we have different ones, but my mom's actually included in my safe place, and it's with us hiking. You know, and how I really encourage you guys, if you do try Safe Place, is to try to do the 5 senses to really take you there.
That's right.
So, like, what can you see? I can overlook the mountains. I can see the birds flying, the hawks, and I can see the people we passed on the hike. You know, we like to do this game where we kind of pass people up, like, and we count them.
Okay.
It's true.
Okay. A little competitive. I like it.
Yes, a very great thing about us. So you can see those people. You can smell. What can you smell? You can smell the fresh grass. You can smell the fresh air, as well as the mildew, not mildew, but the dew on the plants and stuff.
Right.
I can feel, like, what can you feel? I can feel, like, you know, when you take your backpack off and your back's all sweaty, I can feel that, but it feels good because you're really warm and that breeze is just like coming on you. So it's like one of those weird things. But you just go through the 5 senses and it really takes you there.
Right.
And you're calm, you're relaxed, I'm safe, I'm okay. And that's another way we can do
I think the
coping
more,
skills.
when I do that, the more I concentrate on those senses. I mean, when I say, oh, there's sweat on my face, I really try and feel like the sweat. Or if I said, oh, I think I smell a little bit right, you know, I really try to bring that in. Like, oh, I'm smelling that smell, I'm feeling that on my face, I'm feeling sore at this moment going up that hill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it takes you there. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Mom.
Yeah, no, and that's a really powerful grounding tool. So that's fun because you can go out into nature and de-stress and, you know, get rid of anxiety. But I like how you're tying it back into that in the moment. you can go through your senses. So literally as you're sitting there, if you become anxious, go to your safe place and think through your senses.
Yeah.
So love that one. Thank you for sharing it. Another one, I feel like I have all the really practical ones.
Okay.
Because I'm very practical, is eating healthy. So
Okay.
having, I'm not a nutritionist, so that's another disclaimer, but, fueling your body with healthy foods is very, very important. So
You always tell me that when I have something big, whether it's going to a Dreamforce or something, you always tell me, make sure that I actually eat and sleep well.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, staying hydrated, it's really, really powerful. So it's giving your body the fuel that it needs. Because if you're running on an empty tank, then you're running on an empty tank. You don't have a lot to give. So your body, it needs fuel. So being really mindful of the types of foods that it needs, as well as sleep. Our bodies do require sleep, and we need sleep to unwind, to de-stress, to get the anxiety out. And so eating well and sleeping well, as simple and as silly as they may be, very, very important and very, very powerful. So those are two other things you can do to help take care of yourself, and in the long run, decrease anxiety. Because if you're running into a meeting or even an interview
Right.
and you didn't sleep all night and you're starving, you could be shaking.
So
or
we're
jittery.
just changing a few of the little variables, trying to make a few of them a little bit more positive, or actually add a new one in there. That makes sense, though.
To change the whole system.
Right.
Another great one, if you don't mind me taking over, is journaling. Most guys don't like journaling, but it's so helpful.
Okay.
The reason it's so helpful is you can put your thoughts onto paper and you can analyze them as well as process and challenge them. Have you ever thought something when you say it out loud, you're like, man, that sounded really funny. Like that didn't make any sense. And it's because a lot of times we call it cognitive distortions. We don't have time to go too much into that. But a lot of times when you can write it out and process it, it helps move things along, especially when you're feeling flooded. You don't have to write it out. You can journal it. You can also listen to music, relaxation music. Though a lot of times, we like to be congruent, and if you're upset, I don't want you listening to Metallica or anything like that. Calming music, relaxing music to change your
Right.
thoughts and
Yeah, you have told me this many times, and I've actually literally written out, I'm going to do great, and the reasons why, and actually it just happens. I mean, I've wrote it down, it's on paper, it's in my head, and it just happens after that. So I
Yeah.
think that one is really powerful. It really resonates with me.
Yeah.
Helps me through a lot of different Salesforce events.
And that's the thing I wanted to talk about next, is a positive self-talk. Because when you get into negative self-talk, it very much spirals and it can leave you stuck. So shifting it. And we've talked about even going into tests or interviews, sometimes things don't go perfectly. It happens. So to acknowledge that, I may have messed up or I may have stuttered, but as quickly as you can to forgive yourself and say that could have gone better, but you need to jump back on, no big deal. I got this. I can do it. I like to use the analogy of perhaps getting in your car and the radio's broken. So if
Okay.
you get in the car and your radio's broken and you have an hour-long drive ahead of you, if the whole time you're like, I can't believe the radio's broken. I got ripped off. What am I going to do? This is going to cost a lot of money. If you focus
Right.
on all the horrible things, you just really ripped you. It's actually dangerous. I mean, you might even crash. So it's really unfortunate to give too much time to something negative. If you get in your car and you're like, radio's broken, bummer. So you make a little note, need to get it fixed. And then you can focus your mind on other things, more
Okay.
productive things. So if you are frozen, if you're in a tough situation and something didn't go, acknowledge it. Say, in your head, maybe I could have done that better, but I'm gonna try. I can do it. I can do better now. I'm gonna do some deep breathing. I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna reground myself.
Well, also, I'm sorry, Scott, I'm gonna interrupt you real quick.
Sure.
But don't fixate on it.
Yes.
Let's grow. Let's acknowledge it and move past it. And how can we grow from it? A lot of times you like to live in the past. And you beat yourself up and you're stuck there. No, we gotta acknowledge it. But hey, let's focus on the future. We can't change the past. Let's if there's anything you can change, let's do that for the future events that you can grow from it.
And I think from a technological point of view, a lot of tech people have this happen a lot, where we're trying to solve a problem and we just sit there and dwell on it for an hour. And then we finally take a break and go take a shower, and it's at the end of the shower that we just said, oh yeah, now I got the answer. I mean, I think everybody in the tech community can relate to that. It happens so much. So it's great to see that it's a way to break anxiety as well.
Yeah, and something about anxiety can actually be a good thing. So
Okay.
anxiety is your body's response, and the underlying of it is fear. So the fear and anxiety kind of go hand in hand, but sometimes it's keeping you safe. Like for example, if your car stops on a train track and the train's coming, you know, hopefully you feel a bit anxious and you're like, I gotta move, I gotta get off the track. So sometimes it's telling your body what you need to do, something needs to happen.
Yeah.
So I really did want to throw that out there. Slow down, listen to your body. What is it trying to tell me? Sometimes it's telling you need to act. And kind of in the beginning when I was talking about, you know, sometimes people might need a referral to mental health. Sometimes, I know this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, sometimes people have a very traumatic past and they're triggered by small things. So if you find yourself just overly triggered and, you know, these tools aren't helping, maybe consider, you know, getting some mental health help. Because trauma from the past can be triggering a lot of things for you just out of the blue.
Yeah, there are a lot of resources out there. I'm in myself in private practice, and sometimes these things can be overwhelming, and that's when you guys do need to get some help. This is not a therapy session and whatnot, but there are resources out there to help you guys. If you need them, we'll be happy to provide them.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't go into a lot on anxiety and the causes, but I did want to just kind of put that out there that anxiety comes from a lot of different places. It's your body's natural response system. Sometimes it comes from a traumatic past. But something about Salesforce and the tech world that you've shared with me that it really resonates is, and it really goes hand in hand with anxiety, is having a support system. So everybody needs to feel connected. And sometimes that's the root cause of anxiety, is the fear of being rejected, the fear of being alone. Go ahead.
Well, Scott, I'm sorry. I keep interrupting everybody. But Scott was sharing something about Salesforce or something like Mahalo. I forgot.
Yeah, it's really, we have a very tight network. I mean, the longer you're in the Salesforce ecosystem, you'll really figure out that everybody is there to support you. They have their back. They'll do incredible things. Sometimes staying up all night just to help you figure out how to do a formula. And you feel that support like no other industry that I know of. And it's great.
And having that support system can really help, bring you out of your anxiety. Knowing people are behind you and ready to support you is just so amazing. Just having that background with you, I'm sure, is very impactful and helpful for you guys.
Yeah. So big shout out to the tech industry, because for me, I feel like that's the foundation, as people need community and support. And then along the way, all of these tools, some may work for you, some won't, but these are just some suggestions of help, to help you manage your anxiety. But underneath, everybody needs a foundation, a secure attachment. So I was really touched and excited, and I'm like, oh, they have like mental health woven in there. So that support network of Mahalo and people taking care of each other and supporting each other when things don't go well. Because guess what? It's gonna happen. And you need somebody to share that with, as well as when things go well. So I love that about Salesforce.
You always see that on LinkedIn. Anytime someone gets a certificate or does an amazing job on a trail thing, they post it there, and there are just so many comments. Everybody literally gets excited. I mean, when I see someone pass their admin for the first time, I'm happy. I'm like, that made my day. So many times that's been my comment. Wow, you just made my day. Congratulations. I've been there. I know how it feels, and I'm happy for you.
I love it. Yeah. It's something they definitely do well. So thank you. Did you want to add anything? Or
no, nothing. Yeah.
Thank you for listening. We just wanted to reach out and share some suggestions on how to manage anxiety. Hopefully you found some of it to be helpful. Thanks for listening. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Man, the itch in my throat just sucked. I actually thought that one